Welcome to the Dojo Talk Podcast. Please remove them shoes before entry.
Sam Master is here, and you still have not taken off your shoes.
Yeah. Living every day to define man's mission. Looking to the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you.
Welcome to another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. We are on episode number 54. Real quick, I just wanted to stop through, do a quick intro for this episode. I guess I'll start off with a disclaimer. About an hour or so into this episode, the internet gods frowned upon me and we lost connection during Skype. So it may cut off for a brief minute, but I'll edit it some kind of funky way. So, you know, it is what it is. But just wanted to throw that out there. So if you hear an edit, I'll probably throw on a DJ scratch or something. Don't be alarmed. That's why I had to throw that in there, because the internet got angry and it cut us off. But as far as the episode, I'm interviewing a Maryland artist, rapper, producer. He goes by the name of Pale Moon. I've known him since about 11th grade. Back when I was engineering and getting into music, he was one of the first people that I'd ever started recording with. So I've literally seen him progress from being a high school student to a college student to now, a grown adult, and it's been wild, man. It's been a wild ride, and we get in depth of that whole progression, man. We talk about the days of us being in the studios and his come up, and how he progressed from just kind of doing spoken word, things like that, to being an actual rapper. We go into his creative process. We go into his latest project, ONA Tapes, ONA Tapes. That can be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, Bandcamp, Napster. If you type in Pale Moon and ONA Tapes, you'll see him pop up somewhere. But yeah, man, we go really in depth into his project, his creative process. I get to pick his brain a little bit about, certain lyrics, and we talk about the production. We go really in deep, man. I would encourage any indie artist to listen to this episode, man. You get a lot of good gems in here, because we talk about not just the creative side of it, but the personal side of it, personal setbacks and how that can affect your creative output, things like that. So yeah, man, this is a really, really dope episode. I'm really glad I got the chance to get him on the show. Also, another plug, he's a part of a collective called the Creators. Some of them are also known for quite some time now, and they actually have a show coming up, so let me plug that real quick. So if you are in the Baltimore area on Sunday, November the 5th, they have a show at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center, which is at 401 North Howard Street, Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, the Creators got a show coming up. I want to say Guy Grams and I think Ill Conscious are also going to be performing. Don't quote me on that, but I know for at least these guys will be there. The event is called Hip Hop Crossfade, at least according to the Facebook page. So if you guys, if you're in the Baltimore area and you want to check them out, they will be down there. It is a $5 to $10 entrance. I'm literally just scrolling off the Facebook page. So $5 to $10 entrance fee, hosted by Dre Thompson. So if you guys are in the Baltimore area, like I said, November 5th, starts at 7. It's from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. that Sunday. So if you're in the Baltimore area, you want to check them out, definitely go out, support. And we also on the episode talk about their live show and what goes into that and how they incorporate live instrumentation. We go in deep, man. We go in really deep, and this is a really, really dope episode. So shout out to Pale Moon. I have links to ONA Tapes down in the description below. I have links to the project, links to a music video he just put out, And if I can remember, I'll also leave a link to the show so you guys can have the notes on that. So by the time you hear this, you still have time to go to the show if you want. Like I said, if you're in the Baltimore area, by the time you hear this episode, the show won't have happened yet. So if you're interested in going, by all means, check it out, support. Please share this podcast. You can listen to me on this podcast on YouTube, iTunes. Side note, please rate and subscribe on iTunes. Definitely appreciate it. Google Play, all that good stuff. I'm out here. We out here. So, yeah, man. Just wanted to come by, stop by, do a quick intro, and yeah, that's about it, man. I'm your host, Cyril Sensei. I'll stop talking so you guys can listen to this interview, and hope you guys enjoy. Peace. I'm back with a returning guest. It's been a while, but reintroduce yourself, my good sir.
What's good? It's Pale Moon the Warrior. I think last time I was introduced maybe as Hamid, so you might recognize me from there. We talked last time. Samurai Jack or something like that?
Yeah, Samurai Jack. Logic.
Logic, that's right.
Oh, man. I have some thoughts. I know I'm not going to say nothing yet.
Okay.
I was about to go on a whole nother spiel because the KRIT album somehow made me think about Logic. But if we get to that later, we'll get to it. If not,
okay.
I'll save that for something else.
Cool. All right, yeah, definitely.
But, yeah, later for them because they're not the only people releasing music.
That's right.
You're out here. I seen you out here on your promo run.
Out here.
Yeah, out here grinding.
Trying to do some press. Yeah, I just dropped a tape called ONA Tapes. That's ONA Tapes. It's just a quick 17, 18-minute project that I threw together kind of in a rush or whatever, but not really in a rush, but just the style I had recorded it. I got it done in like 4 days or something like that. So, yeah, just out here pushing his music, man.
Flexing on her.
Yeah.
So, because I was thinking when you put this out, anytime, even if a friend or just anybody I know put something out, I always go back to the last thing they released.
Okay.
So, Alexithymia, that was what year was that? Let me bring that up.
I want to say 2011 maybe. It's either 11 or 12.
Yeah, that was, man, and a good tape for people. I'm going to leave a link to both just to, hear progression.
Yeah, people can hear the progression, yeah.
Yeah, because, if you listen to Alexithymia and you listen to this, not that Alexithymia is bad or anything, but ONA Tapes definitely sounds a lot more polished, I would say.
It stepped up and just a lot more mature and all that. I mean, when I began writing Alexithymia, up until that point in, let's say 2012, that was basically what I had viewed at the time to be my entire life put into music, you know what I mean? So it was
right.
It was everything I had learned up until that point. So some of it was, maybe polished, some of it was a little rough, and some of it's a little problematic looking back at it now, but we all learned. We all grew up.
Right. Came a long way from the apple juice days.
Yeah, it's actually it's funny though, because if you think about it, you were there. You weren't there when I first began rapping, but you were there when I pretty much first began recording, because that was pretty much at Hartford. And you were there when I was doing the poetry slams and stuff like that too with Rich. So it's interesting that you bring up seeing the progression, because you saw you've heard stuff that probably never saw the light of day.
Right.
That we were doing just way back when. That if you look back at it now, you'd be like, oh my god, burn this. But
on the low, I would have to research. I still have tape songs on one of my hard drives that we recorded at Hartford. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's just you or Rich, but I know I have some of y'all stuff somewhere.
It's got to be somewhere. Every once in a while, Facebook will give me the memories or whatever.
Yeah.
And just the minute I see it clicks to me, I'll see a picture of me and Rich again. I'm like, oh no, that's one of our old songs. I gotta delete this now.
Actually, now that you say it, hold up. I still have right here in my room the OG Sofa King fresh tape
Oh man,
With you,
is
Rich.
Taylor on that one?
Yeah, with you, Rich, and Tay on the cover. Still
Oh,
got
bruh.
the MySpace page link.
Damn, you gotta save that for like blackmail down the road.
Yeah, I still got that.
That's crazy.
So between, I guess, those times and now, was the break purposeful, like that long to put out another album, or is it just kind of situations where life gets in the way and you kind of just, at the end of the day, you're an artist, but we're still people.
Yeah,
we still
right.
have lives, responsibilities, all that, all that good stuff.
Well, from the moment I started at Hartford, which was probably around 2000 and let's say 9, 10 or whatever, up until now, which is 2017, late in 2017, I've been recording nonstop since then, and I've been making music nonstop, and I don't know, like I guess like after I dropped Alexithymia, like, and I, as time started going on and I started getting better at making music, I started looking back at Alexithymia and like I was able to kind of like be like, okay, this is what I was doing wrong, or this is why I wasn't connecting. And so I started like just experimenting a lot and trying different types of rap and hip hop and coming at it from different angles. And like I would put out a song every once in a while, and like, people would, the homies would like it, give it a share, and that was about it. And like it kind of like it was an indicator to me that like even though people weren't saying it, like I felt like my music wasn't where it needed to be.
Mm.
So, I kept putting it off. Like, I mean, some people like they've seen through my hard drive, and I have like just hundreds upon hundreds of song concepts, and I've got books filled with like rhymes and stuff like that. And it's just like I've spent 5 years isn't that long in the span of a lifetime, but it was really just 5 years of just learning and going through life. And there would be times where I'd put down the mic for a little while, and I wouldn't come back to it for like a few months or so. But it was all just kind of like a learning process for me, so that when I was able to record ONA Tapes, I mean, like I said, it took me 4 days, whereas before it would take me like weeks to finish a song. This time, I finished it pretty fast because I figured out my process, and I figured out where it is I fall into in terms of like music, and what my style should be, and what my quote unquote rap character should be, or if that's what you want to call it, that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I figured it's just like I learned all that stuff along the way, so that when it got to this point, I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what I need to do, and it all just came out naturally. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what that was, I guess, to an extent. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I guess during this whole time, because I know this happens to me a lot. Like, well, I'm not an artist, but I'm on my whole indie author grind, and like I can't lie. Sometimes I look around and I see other people around me putting out material.
Yeah.
Whether it be I know them personally or just I just know them, just they're an indie person,
Sure.
and I see everybody else putting out material, and I'm looking at me and I'm like, where's my
Where's
like,
your piece?
Yeah, like where's my piece? Like, does that feeling ever happen? Like, especially during that break where you're recording material, but it's not, you're not really releasing it.
Of course, yeah, man. I mean, like, I had a stab at Atlantic Records. I mean, it's been a few years now, but a few years back, and it was like me and Rich, and I had my own studio at that point. I was in Forest Hill. You maybe even came to visit at one point.
Yeah, we came up there a couple times.
Yeah, and so like we had a stab at Atlantic Records and stuff like that, and like, I didn't have enough material, so like we passed that to Rich, and I remember at that point it all ended up not working out, but I remember at that point I was thinking to myself like, okay, like this is what happens when you don't have enough material, or when you're not able to, to show up with quality content. And then like, all my, I'm in the creators, whatever, it's 8 of us, and everybody be putting out projects and stuff like that, and I'd help on some of those projects, and homies would be putting out pieces of art and all that, and like it kind of sucks, especially at this point in our lives, because it's like, I went from being 21 to 27, and within those years, especially if you're a rapper or a musician, like they kind of say like, you're supposed to be getting it when you're 18.
Right.
So it's like, dang, like I'm closing in on 30 now, and even if I drop something now, I still have to work to get it to the next level. It's not going to be like I just drop it and then tomorrow I'm living in comfort and lavishness. So like just looking at other people already getting that head start like was a little intimidating, and like at times like it would kind of like make me want to just put something out, you know what I mean?
Right. Just scrap something together and just
right, like, oh, you know what, like I got this concept that I can do, and like I'll put out like 13 songs real quick and that'll be it. But the reality was like I realized that I had to be at peace with the fact that maybe I just like making music because it was just something that's fun to me, and maybe it's not meant to be something that controls or decides or influences my life and destiny. And I think when I did that and I let go of this idea that like I need to be famous off this, or I need to make moves off it, or I need to be doing what my peers are doing. Once I let go of all that, I became a lot more comfortable. And there'd be people telling me like, "Yo, when are you gonna drop? When are you gonna drop?" And I was just like, man, I would say, it just at this point it doesn't matter when I drop. When I drop, it'll be good, I promise. But until then, I'm just gonna be comfortable, with the music only being stuff I hear to myself, because I know when it's quality or whatever that I'll put it out, or what I think is quality at least.
Yeah. I say before I guess we get to the tape, real quick, just to go back to the Atlantic, because that was a situation that like I kind of knew about, but didn't know like how did that even first
come
start?
about.
Yeah,
well, so me and Rich have this homie Sean Dackerman, and when I got the studio, I was able to kind of like bring, I was starting to build like a little bit of a team there, because it was a spot, everybody could come to, you could create in there or whatever. And Sean was doing photographic. He was doing photography work, and somewhere along the lines, he came across this girl, and she just so happened to have, I guess her dad or like her rich stepdad or something like that. He bid on an interview with the CEO of Atlantic for like charity. So he had this like free date with the Atlanta guy, and so he gave the girl Corey, he gave her an opportunity. He's like, hey, if you find yourself a good enough artist, you can go on this Atlantic interview and pitch the guy, and maybe you could be his manager, all that, or her manager. And so she landed on me and Rich, and then it was just a matter of, at that point, like, okay, like one of us has got to go. Who's it going to be? And Rich at the time was definitely a more mature artist, in terms of just understanding and being comfortable with his own like rapping abilities and stuff like that. And he was also like good at production, stuff like that. So he went ahead and he went with the interview, and we set him up and we recorded for him and we put together all kinds of stuff. And he went out there, and I mean, I guess I won't tell his whole story for him, but he went out there and they loved what he did, and they told him a lot of stuff, but I guess it didn't really pan out for a number of reasons that were like balls dropped on our end, or and all that. But yeah, I mean, that was that. It was pretty much just a happenstance of we knew somebody who just so happened to have a free date with that guy, and we tried to leverage it into a situation where we could all make a come up, and yeah, that was that.
So how do you handle like that fallout? Because you go from, we come from like literally from like the ground up,
right?
Like recording in any random studio, probably recording in cars, to like building up to you getting your own studio, and then you get the shot at Atlantic, and then whatever happens just kind of happens. So is it? Did you come home like kind of like it's over, or was it like you just got to get back to it?
I mean, I can't speak for Rich, since it was like it ended up being more his shot. You know what I mean? Right. Like I was obviously there along for the ride and helping out, but it was his shot, so I can't speak for how he felt. Maybe a month afterwards or whatever. Like when it didn't work out. But I mean, for me, like I was pissed. I was like, all right, well, why didn't we, carpe diem, you know, like why didn't we,
Right.
like what went wrong or whatever, and but I mean, I ended up being more pissed at myself because I was like, dang, you know, if I had done more on my end, whether it be me making better music myself or pushing Rich or pushing Sean or even pushing the guys that gave us the opportunity to have the interview, you know what I mean, whoever it needed to be, if I would have done more, you know, maybe we could add something. But I also looked at it too as like, you know, whatever happens, happens.
Right.
You know, you can't like, you hear about people all the time. You know, they sound like they're going to sign to Def Jam, and then they get nothing. You know what I mean? Or they sign to somebody, and then they don't ever drop anything. You know? So,
Right.
like, getting our foot in the door just means we're in the lobby. We still have to, like, work our way up to the top floor. So, you know, it was bittersweet. I was probably a little upset at the time that, like, it didn't manifest into anything. But at the same time, I mean, you know, that was one problem in a long line of, you know, different issues that would come up afterwards. So
It's crazy though, cause like I feel like looking back now, I almost feel like the way like music has shifted, that it might have been for the better. Because I feel like now you look at record labels and it's like, dude, I'm gonna say you don't need them, but are they really? I mean, compared to back then, yeah, labels were probably like, that was a really big deal. But like now, you know, obviously with this tape, like you can record this on your own time. Nobody can tell you, you know, oh, you can't say this line, it's too offensive, or like you can just kind of you can just kind of do whatever you want, and like that's 100% your product.
Yeah, I think the way we always look at it, I mean, the way I look at it too, is like, you know, it just like it's an opportunity that, you know, we don't see. You know what I mean? You know that, like, you know, if somebody comes up to you and there's like potential that you could get, even if it's just a mil, which is not a lot nowadays by, you know, music standards, but like if you sign $1 million contract or something like that, you know what I mean? Like everybody, if that comes in front of them, you know, you start to feel like, dang, my life could change. I could do this for this person. I could do this for that person. You know what I mean? Like that's what we were talking about. Like when we started like organizing our thoughts, like, all right, Rich is going to be the one that goes. We started trying to plan out, like, what does that mean moving forward? With all this money that's going to come through, how are we going to use, you know, like, even though Rich is the one signing it, like, since it's a group effort, you know what I mean? Since it was Corey's Connect and us all pulling together, recording Rich's music for him and mixing and mastering it, how are we going to move as a team moving forward? You know, that was the whole plan. It was like if Rich got money, we were going to hopefully, with his approval, invest it back into our team and keep ourselves building up. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't ever an ideal situation, but it was just like hey, at least somebody's paying attention to us in this moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
And giving us an opportunity, which a lot of people don't get. But definitely, I mean, I think it worked out better for a number of reasons. I mean, just the landscape of the type of music you can make now. I feel like back then it was like he could have easily been shopped around as like a B.O.B. artist.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He would have got. Yeah, he might have gotten typecasted.
Yeah, because you know, back then, like I feel like nerd culture, like since we've been in high school, was already changing for the better. But like back then, it was still not quite the thing. It was getting better and more popular and hip, but it wasn't quite the thing.
Yeah,
so
but now it's like.
Yeah, he would have been lumped into like one of those categories. So maybe like on his side, like for the better, it's, you know, he was able to kind of keep that artistic integrity, even though that means, you know, we're all still, you know, broke or whatever. But, you know, there's plenty of chances now to get out there and do your thing. So
I don't know what they would have done to you, because I think you're a lot more like, I'm trying to think of the word.
They wouldn't have had anything for me back then, yo.
Yeah, because I don't think you had like a lane, at least in terms of like a mainstream.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't have a lane, and like, I mean, you look at it from all kinds of practical aspects, because that's what we did. Like, I mean, I was, you know, I kind of have a little bit of a skater aesthetic going. I'm also like into rock. I'm into nerdy stuff, but I also like ignorance, and you know, and then I'm like this mixed Hispanic Indian guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can't package me up and put a bow on me. So like, it makes me impossible to be somebody to market. That's why we looked at Rich and we're like, all right, Rich is the marketable one out of all of us. You know, we tried to approach it for being so young, we tried to approach it with a business mind in terms of like who would do what, and that was one of the reasons why I found out in that moment. I was like, okay, I don't have enough of anything. I haven't figured out who I am yet. I haven't figured out what my music is supposed to be about yet. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. How can I expect somebody else to invest in me and market in me if I don't even know, what my role is in all this? So,
Right.
So in a way, that was a learning experience for me, I guess. Just, figuring out who it is I'm supposed to be, or, at least knowing that if I want to move forward, I need to identify who that character or person or whatever it is going to be for me.
Right.
So
I guess bring it up to speed, bring it full circle.
Okay.
So you go through all that. Now we fast forward to present. Was there like a certain moment where you're like, all right, I need to, was there like a certain inspiration for you to put out this project, or was it just,
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I guess for about maybe the last year and a half, I've been working on the songs that are on this project, ONA Tapes. And then let's see. I don't know. I mean, my son was born in 2016. And I told myself before that, all right, before he's born, I'm going to drop a tape. And then that didn't happen. And then he was born, and then, my mom passed away, maybe, 8 months later.
right?
And so after that, it took a toll on me. But, as they say with everything, in stress and trauma, you end up making art or whatever. So those, my son being born and my mom passing away were, I guess, they didn't throw me into music making mode, but they certainly laid the groundwork for what this project became, because it was in that moment when I was like, okay, I've simultaneously welcomed life and watched life exit within the same year. Both very, my first child and then my mother, you know what I mean?
Right.
Those are super impactful kind of things to go through. And so that just kind of it put enough gas in the tank for me to, get down the street or whatever. And then I guess I want to say, midsummer, I kind of got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm frustrated. I feel like artistically I haven't done anything. I need to just put something out, and I took 2 weekends and just laid it down real quick, and that was that. I think my homie was my cousin just kept nagging me for one of the tracks I have on there called Birdcage. He had heard it over a year ago. He heard me rap it at least, and he's been like, yo, when you drop that Birdcage, And I think one day I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go do it, and I just got into the studio and then recorded. And I thought I was only gonna record demos, but it ended up not being demos. Matter of fact, if I can, describing the recording setup I had there.
Yeah, I was actually I have that as a line note. Actually, I was gonna ask you.
Okay. Well, it's funny though. Just because you're an engineer too, you used to engineer me. What is your opinion on the recording? First off, just going into it.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately in terms of, and just to go off on a mini side tangent.
Yeah.
I'm learning, and I ain't gonna say I'm learning. I'm reinforcing something I already knew, but I'm on my own little thing trying to put out, a book.
Right.
Sounds like a very simple task, but when you're literally an indie, you really realize you have to do this all yourself. You're the one man band that has to make all of this happen. And I see other artists who, don't have a big budget. Obviously, a lot of us are broke college kids or just broke adults. We don't have money to afford these crazy studios. But as far as just, be honest, man, if you want to just record an album, I mean, albeit, yeah, it's great to have, top class studio if you can afford a great engineer. Definitely would encourage you to do that. But I mean, if you're just out here on the grind and you want to put out something solid, man, you can get a MacBook and a USB mic, get your little pop filter.
And do that work, yeah.
Right, you can do what? You sit in your car, and you can, of course, it's not gonna come out as like the sound quality of like somebody who's signed to like a Def Jam or Universal, but like you can still make a really solid, project, something that does sound clean. Especially, I can't say this enough, get a good engineer to mix your music. They can help mask some of your recording flaws. But
especially because if you're not trained in the art of like knowing what's wrong and right from like from your audio quality in terms of like what radio or like professionals are going to be looking for, you know what I mean? You're going to want somebody that does know what to look for, because you may have like weird low end pops or just weird little artifacts in your music that you don't realize are there because you're hearing it one way, but then when a professional hears it, they're going to hear those artifacts and they're not going to want to play your music on radio or wherever the case may be, because that's what's going to be the sound of it being unprofessional.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I listened to this, I think I remember you telling me before that you recorded like songs just in your car.
Yeah, I used to. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did your recording setup change from now to, or from then to now?
Yeah, well, so I used to have the studio. Then that got dissolved. That was it was a group studio that we had. It was like 5 of us or whatever, and we just all couldn't pay rent, so studio went wayside. And then I had my own equipment. I had a cheap Scarlett kind of box set, Focusrite box set. So it was like, it came with like a 4-input mixer, or I think it's 2 inputs, but you can switch them out between XLR cables and 1/4-inch cables if you have like a guitar or something.
Yeah.
And that came with like a stock mic and like some headphones, and I was using that. And then when I moved out of the place I'm in now, I couldn't really record music like that, so I was kind of like homeless in terms of studio for a long time. And I recorded a clip in the ashtray at this warehouse, and that was pretty cool. But after that, like, I didn't have anywhere to go, so I went to my dealer. I went to his crib, and I set up in his living room, which was not made for recording music at all. I sat on a broken chair, literally like that. If I were to shift too much, the leg would kick from underneath it, and I would just fall. I had the mic kind of like, the mic stand was broke, so I had it like positioned like so that the bottom of it was jammed in my stomach, pressed up against the dining room table. And I just, I recorded it like that. I recorded the whole thing with the mic just in this bootleg way. My homie was literally asleep, snoring with sleep apnea behind me, snoring. And like in my mind, I was like, okay, this is all fine. I'm in terrible conditions. This is okay though, because I'm just recording demos. That's all I want to do right now. And so that's how I recorded it. And then like I'm one of those people that like, even if it's a demo, I'm just tinkering with it like it's the real thing.
Right.
And I was like, hold up. And I started, playing around with it. And I was like, yo, this actually sounds pretty good. Like, yeah. And then
EQ his snore out of the.
Yeah. Well, what happened is like, I like to put, I record 2 layers of vocals. So I record like my top layer, which is just my voice sounding regular. And then I record a second layer, which I run through a guitar amp. Right. So, and then, well, usually I'll like run through some auto-tune, then a guitar amp, depending on what I'm doing. But, so any snoring he had kind of blended in with the guitar amp a little bit. So it just like, it added to like the edginess or the roughness in it. And so, I mean, that was like that was a learning experience for me, because that was, prior to that, I've always been kind of like thinking in my head, like I went and I recorded a song, Roll the J, and Come Through. I recorded those at Soundwave Studios, which is a pretty nice studio. It was in Abingdon for a little while. I don't know where they're at now. I think they moved to Hatter Grace, and then, I don't know where their location is now. But it was a nice studio. But I don't know, like you say, like you don't always, just because it's a nice big studio doesn't mean it's gonna always connect with you, or it's always gonna be the best served studio for you. And like for me, I just kind of like found out that after doing all that maybe I'm my best engineer or my best producer, just because I understand my quirks and I understand my working process, and that it's not ideal for everybody. You know what I mean? So I like to edit and tinker and stuff like that. So yeah, I took it upon myself to record it and do the mixing and mastering myself. And it's kind of hard, but I knew what I was working with, and I knew like, all right, so then I need to create a sound that kind of works with that or whatever, and it makes sense, so it doesn't sound like it's just crappily recorded audio. And so I went for that whole lo-fi grungy kind of sound or whatever, and I think it translated all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this used to be a pet peeve, and for listeners, like the whole engineer part of my life is I refer to that as my past life now. I kind of I don't record really much anymore.
Right,
Sometimes I do miss it though. I'm not gonna lie, but I always was a big pet peeve of mine of anybody who sent me a song or handed me a tape and like just the audio quality was just like some trash.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it, you don't got the big budget, but come on, man. Like, you can learn a basic EQ, cut out some mids or some highs, or like you can learn those little small things that'll like they make a big difference. Just those little things can make your tape, sound a lot better. So yeah, you definitely did a good job on the engineering. Like there wasn't any point where I was like, oh, this sounds off, or like everything sounded the way it should have sounded.
Yeah,
at least that's
thank
what
God.
at least what I got from it. Speaking of sound though, I want to get into I guess production because I feel like that's like where my ear goes when I put like any album on. Like I just like to hear the different sounds and stuff.
So you go for a beat first and then lyrics, or do you
I won't say I go for a beat, but I feel like I guess now I'll just bring it up. So this Big KRIT album, just to throw an example out there, because I've been jamming this album nonstop since it came out.
It's like 24 tracks, man.
Bro, I know, and I can't like. I'm gonna review this album, so I'm gonna try not to say too much.
Okay.
But even in 24 tracks, it doesn't even feel like it. Like I listen to it, and it's just, and I think part of it is like, especially the second disc of that project, like the musicality is so good, and like that's what drew me in, like, because he used a lot of like live instrumentation, and I don't know, like certain instrumentals just put me in like a good, or not even a good, just I like listening to something that just puts me in some kind of mood, even if it's not a good mood. Like
right.
I just want to feel something.
Yeah.
So like when I put this tape on, especially, and I think I told you this, one of the standout tracks I like was Low Lifes. And like first listen, I put that on. I was like, man, like this is really like, it's really dreary.
Yeah.
Kind of dark, but not like too dark. But like that, it was just like the whole vibe of that track. I was like, this really like resonates. Like I could see this in like a music video. Like I was picturing this like in my head, like while I'm listening to it.
Right.
Because like like that really stood out. I'll notice like a lot of this tape, I would say probably aside from Birdcage, like a lot of this is a really somber, it's really somber, really dreary. Like, were you going for that sound on purpose, or is that just how it just kind of turned out?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, when I think like my like philosophical and ideological kind of take on life kind of like informs it a lot, because like it's definitely like a sad kind of depressed feel or tone at least, but it's really more or less just like they're just observations that just so happen to end up coming off as sad or depressing or all that. And then like the beats help, but they don't help in that regard because they're also like just very low key, and they're not, they can go either way. I think like a lot of them I could have went dumb hard and like just been on some like real spiritual lyrical type stuff, or I could have also pulled back and gone like really simplistic with it. But I just kind of like, I don't know, I try to lay everything out in front of me and just comment on it and not really worry about giving an answer so much as just like an observation. And like Low Lifes is one of those songs where it's like, it's not really about me saying like, yo, if you're caught up in a world of drugs and lust and all that, like you're wrong. It's more or less just like okay, this is the world, that's being occupied right now, and there's good to it, there's bad to it, and then there's the reality of why it works. And that's just, how I try to approach every song. And I guess in a lot of ways, like, because it is such a like clinical, logical kind of approach that it kind of comes off as sad. And of course, I take maybe the bars don't come off as funny, but in my mind, like there's a sense of like tongue in cheek inside of like what I'm saying as well. In terms of like, in terms of like the commentary and stuff like that, like stay for the drugs. It don't matter if the love go. Like that's a real thing for a lot of people, but it's also kind of tongue in cheek in a certain kind of way. Like it's kind of like, yep, that's where the relationship is at right now. You know what I mean?
Do you ever I know this, I get this a few times, and I try not to have this thought because I know it's gonna steer me wrong one day.
Yeah.
But like, you ever just write something down and you write it down and you're looking at like, yo, this is dope, but then you read it back and like, oh, this is some really like personal, like, do I really want people to see this? Somebody might look at me different. Like, what am I gonna?
Well, that was definitely the fear in this, because like, I mean, off the bat, like if you listen to Alexithymia, like a lot of the stuff in there, like there may have been points of it that were like, very relatable to what I was going through at life at the time, but at the same time, like that wasn't really me. You know what I mean? It was kind of like me walking in the shoes of a rapper as opposed to just being one. You know what I mean? Because I was still learning what it meant to make an album. Whereas this one, I was just being myself a lot of the time, and there's a lot of topics in there. I have a song called "Compromise" where like the chorus is like, I put a bullet in my brain just like a third eye. You know what I mean? And it's like, I knew once that tape came out, I would get calls and texts and stuff and be like, hey man, like, are you good? You know what I mean?
Right.
I knew that was coming, and I guess like that was part of like the therapy of making this album, was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna put a lot of this out there, and I don't know what the reaction is supposed to be or what I want it to be, but I'll take the hit. You know what I mean? Because I guess I feel like if you want art to really translate, sometimes you gotta really dig deep and like just put yourself out there for the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like 9 times out of 10, like most of the things you feel uncomfortable writing are the things you probably should be putting out.
Exactly, because that's where it's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like okay, this feels weird, like quoting my own stuff, but like, I wrote this like I wrote a bar on Compromise where it's like, they raped my mom in pregnancy when she was 22. I remember that time I got too drunk and tried to force myself on you. Like, first off, there's the whole first thing. It's like, hold up, your mom got raped in the pregnancy when she was 22, and then thinking about like my family's gonna be hearing this, and there's all that. But the reality, like, that's a touch point that like people can relate to. You know what I mean? Right. And there's thing, and then there's the other side of it where it's like I'm talking about myself doing something that borders on just as disgusting as what that was. You know what I mean? Right. And it's just like, I put it out there because I understand that there's men in my situation that have done that and maybe feel bad about that, or especially with the way politics and the way we interact with each other is changing nowadays. There's a lot of stuff that maybe happened a few years ago, or that when people weren't as woke, that you look back at now and you're like, oh man, why did I do that back then? Right. If this comes back to haunt me, like, what I mean? People are gonna look at me a certain way, but the world was actually different, 5-10 years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
So it's like, I felt like in this project, like, I should just be as honest as I can about it. And, if people get mad about it, they get mad about it. If they don't, they don't. But, I mean, that's what every artist has gone through that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Any great artist, you look back and there's somebody pointing a finger at them saying they said too much. You know what I mean? Whether it's Eminem, Pac, Kanye, somebody's always pointing a finger at them saying they're talking too much. And I figured, hey, who am I to not give it a shot?
But I would say with this, though, like, it's not like, even in any point in the album when those kind of lines come across, it's not like you're bragging about it. It's just kind of yo, like I did that. Like
Right.
that
It's,
was
it's just an observation. That's all it is. It's just like,
yeah,
it's questions and observations. It's like, yo, I did this, I did that. You know, you can take it how you want. You know, I confess to being a piece of crap. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
I admit that I'm not perfect and that I've made a lot of like problematic mistakes. And you know what I mean? But at the same time, I also admit that I probably have gotten a good amount of punishment for that. You know what I mean? I've
right.
gone through life and I've worn some things, and this is where I'm at now. And you know, I'm willing to be open and share a perspective with anybody that wants to listen, and maybe they've gone through something similar and they can grow from it. You know what I mean? And not make the same mistakes I've made along the way.
All right. And I guess just last point on the production, especially I actually have this pulled up on your Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Cause that Birdcage beat was fire.
Okay.
So, were these producers that like you knew, or you just reached out on the internet, or?
Reached out YouTube. Like I just about every night after we finish up this one, I gotta stream this a music video I'm putting out for Compromise. But I just about every night I like smoke a cigarette and just scroll through beats, and you know, I find what I like, what I don't. I write to them. I go through a whole process with every beat. You know, I spend months on a beat, just writing to it, seeing what I want to say. Does it fit? Does it work? So like, songs like Birdcage and stuff like that, they were ones that, you know, I think Birdcage started out completely different. It was on some other stuff, and then at one point I was just like, you know what? Let me just try to feel like let me just skip the structure, skip the song, the typical song composition that you go with, and just, you know, just kind of let it flow out naturally. And that's what it was with a lot of beats, was just, you know, finding how I fit on it and going. I think Compromise was the only one that most of my bars were already written to, and I just kind of Compromise was a beat I had. I got it probably like 2 weeks before I was done with the album, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I had a version of this tape with a couple other songs on it floating around for a while that I was thinking about releasing, and I was like, it's not there yet. And so I went back in and recorded Compromise, and that kind of rounded it out. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just with beats, man, I dig and I dig and I dig, and you know, you can find like a million great beats because there's a million great producers out there, but it's all about finding the ones that fit within what you're trying to do in the moment or whatever, and that your energy vibes within. So that's what I've been doing lately, is just digging around. I make my own beats, but I haven't done that in a while, and I've kind of put that to the side because that gets a little too distracting.
So speaking of beats, every time I listen to this on SoundCloud and it gets at the end, the clip in the ashtray, you know how like SoundCloud just rolls on to the next whatever.
Yeah.
There's this one beat. I don't know this producer. I don't know if you guys know each other or something, but they keep playing this guy's beat. I'm gonna have to send it to you the next time I listen to it, because like every time the beat starts, I'm like, oh snap, it's about to be another Hammer track. No, nothing, just completely different project.
I think it might be something I liked, because that happens to me too. It used to go to another song of mine. I think it might have been Come Through, but then like it started switching, and now it goes to like this, because I liked his song on SoundCloud, and of course now, you know, it just screws that up for me. But
so when you, I guess while you were recording this, like when did you know? Did you decide that you just wanted it to be 5 tracks? Like, when did you hit that point, like, all right, this is a finished body of work, I'm ready to put this out?
Well, I'm a fan of the short tape, especially in today's, like, listening climate where people don't like to listen to things for too long. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was planning on, like, between 9 to 10, but I had recorded Birdcage and Way first, I think, and then I had Clip in the Ashtray already. So like, and then I had like 2 other songs. I had a song called Elysian, and I had a song called Allure with my friend Oss and Nathia. And Allure was like it's a pretty big, grandiose song. So like at that point, I was like, all right, I'm at like 5 or 6 tracks right now, and this feels good. And so, like, that was when it started. I was like, you know what if I just did, like, a 6-track or a 5-track, you know, EP, and just put that out and, you know, give people a taste, because, like, who really wants a 17-track album from a local artist anyways. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wanted to make it short enough that I can get my whole message through. 17 minutes isn't really much of a commitment, and I also wanted to make sure it was all killer and no filler. So when I had the 5, I listened to front to back, and I was like, oh, this works, and I just kind of took it that route.
Yeah, I've always wondered if that's gonna be like the new, maybe not now, but within a couple of years. Like I could see EPs being like the new album.
It's just like, I mean, it's like, what is the end game by putting out a longer tape? You know what I mean? If you have the material for it, and if you have the budget for it, and the time and all that, like maybe it makes sense. You know what I mean? But like in my case, it's like I'm not getting an advance to make music. You know what I mean? Or I'm not getting a budget to get in the studio and have multiple tracks. So it's like, all right, well, what's the best way for me to get my stuff out there to people while still, being able to work on my craft. So like I finished this was 5 songs, and I'm already working on the next 5. You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be done by the end of the year. So it's like I'm gonna have 2 projects this year as opposed to just having 1, because I could have made one whole album of 10, but now I can drop this next 5 coming up soon, and then be able to kind of capitalize off that. You know what I mean? I could rebuild the energy again as opposed to shooting my wad at the beginning of November with 10 songs and it not catching on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, not to say that this tape hasn't been catching on, but I just don't want to waste the music or whatever. Not at this point.
So you mentioned real quick, Compromise video.
Yeah.
What can we expect? You don't have to spoil it, but
yeah, it's just black and white. A lot of Urban Decay. There's not like, it's nothing too crazy. It's definitely, I'd say just look at the composition. That's what I was really going for. Is just like cool looking shots. I shot it myself, edited it myself. I've literally, except for the beats, everything about this project has been done by me. I made the album cover myself, took the picture. I don't, just the whole direction in terms of like choosing what colors and all that, and everything I pretty much done myself. So like, I figured with the music video, like I have like a bunch of talented people within my own team that I could work with to make a dope video. But I figured for this first one, I wanted it to be kind of rough and raw and imperfect, like the process of making the actual project was. So that's what I did with Compromise, and it's got a cool little. It's extended. There's a skit in the beginning. It's a little dreary, perfect for Halloween. But yeah, it's just a cool little visual piece, something to go along with it and get those YouTube numbers up.
That's dope. So real quick, I guess close out the tape and then do a slight transition.
Okay.
All right. So you got ONA Tapes out. If anything, what do you what do you hope to accomplish, or what do you want the listener to get out of it?
Well, ideally what would happen is the listener listens to it, and regardless if they like it or hate it, they just share it and they get me rich and famous so that I can not have to work a day in my life ever again. But I mean, besides that, I mean, I just want people to enjoy it, listen to it. For me, this was like a therapeutic moment. I'm not expecting anything from this project, but I just want people to like be reminded now. It's been 5 years since I've done anything. Be reminded I make music. And
still here.
I'm still here, and not just that, but it's like, and when I say I'm dropping a tape, like just know like I'm not gonna give you guys like local quality music. You know what I mean? Like right. I'm trying to do something like more than that. And I want people to know like I'm taking this seriously. I'm taking the craft seriously. I'm taking the art behind it seriously. I listen to everybody's music, and I judge myself against that to the highest standard. And I'm the hardest person on myself I know. So like, when you listen to my tape, even though everybody says this, like just know like it's different. It's not the same stuff you're probably used to. Whether you're from the county or whether you're from ever. There was an effort put into this, and I think it kind of, hopefully it shows, or it sounds like it. And if you're gonna listen to one song, either listen to Low Lifes or Compromise. Compromise is probably my favorite track in it. Low Lifes is probably the most in line with a mainstream type sounding song. The content of it, you could argue, isn't very mainstream, but in terms of song composition, stuff like that, it's pretty easy to get into. And if you're a stoner, listen to Clip in the Ashtray. That's the anthem.
I was gonna say I got the SoundCloud numbers pulled up. Clip in the Ashtray look like it's ahead of the pack.
Yeah, Clip in the Ashtray is at like what, 250 or something like that right now?
Yeah, 249.
249. Yeah. So we're trying to get those up, guys. I'm averaging about 100 plays a day right now, which is pretty good, all things considered. It's not a lot, but it's something. So let's
Yeah, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah, man.
You had mentioned real quick earlier about you're definitely not the same as like what else you would hear in the city.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that because like I've known you. I don't know every creators member, but like I've at least known about you guys for a while. Obviously me, you, and Rich all came up together.
Yeah.
But like I've just been listening to you guys as a collective. It's been some years now. Like I stop and think about it, like you guys have been really like out here for a while now, and like how do you feel like you guys not to say stack up, but what do you guys like fit in like the I guess you would call it the Baltimore scene in terms of like hip hop, and what do you even think of like the Baltimore music scene?
Well, like I don't think it's fair for like the Baltimore musicians to like throw me in there with them just because like they rep it to the fullest, and they know everything about Baltimore. Like I'm just like a transplant, if anything. I don't even live there. You know what I mean? I live in the county,
right.
and that would be a problem if I tried to claim. But at the same time, like in terms of just like this 410 music scene, like I mean, I think the creators got it unlocked. Like I've listened to just about everybody, and everybody's really talented and stuff like that. And I think there's like some amazing things going on in terms of like, what do you call it? Like the LGBT gender queer scene. Like they've got like an interesting music hip hop kind of experimental scene going on that like a lot of people aren't paying attention to. And I think that's really cool too. But in terms of just like a solid squad, I feel like the creators got that on lock. Like you can pull me out of it and me just be a bystander, and I would still tell you like, oh yeah, like Marlo's nasty, Rich is obviously incredible at what he does. Lando and E bring that nerdy flavor to it, and they've got like some crazy reference. Their reference game is pretty crazy. And just everybody else in the squad, Moose and I'm forgetting. Austin's nasty. He's
I was gonna say I haven't listened to him in a while, but like every time I peep any of his tracks, like that dude's nasty.
Yeah,
he's got some heat.
And it's like I think it's more or less like a mindset too that is like what brings us there. You know what I mean? Because like I don't know, like it just feels like we're always on like a different kind of wavelength, and I think it's weird. It's different. I mean, none of us make the same music. I mean, Rich and Marlo maybe are the closest to the same just because they're brothers. You know what I mean? So they work together all the time. But, what I do is completely different than what Rich does. And what Rich does is completely different than what, Ian Lando does. And
right.
There are threads that line up. We're all into nerdy stuff. And, we're also into, like, higher thinking and higher consciousness and all that. So, like, there's definitely those elements that weave in and out of it. But, I mean, at the same time, I think, like, it's our differences and our diversity that really give us that, like, upper leg. I mean, you don't want to battle Rich, unless you're, like, unless you're, like, one of, like, the URL rappers that are, like, really
right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're just a street-level guy that, like, is trying to make his way into the league, don't start with Rich.
Right.
He'll embarrass you. Like, he's got those petty, nerdy lines that you just hear and you're like, God damn. If you don't believe me, just look up Rich versus Yaga. Like,
I ain't want to bring it up and take no shots, but it's out there.
It's out there. I mean, like, look, like
it is what it is.
everybody takes L's sometimes. I've taken a few L's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just Rich, he handed out a massive one that night. He handed out a spirit bomb that night.
Yeah, man. Shout outs to Rich. Yeah, man. That was that video is like a local it's like a local classic.
Right.
But speaking of the creators, so y'all got a show coming up, man.
Yeah, we got a show, and thank goodness I am on the creators page. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to give the details on it. So coming up this November on Sunday, actually, shout out to you for giving me a chance to put this podcast out quick. But Sunday at 7, we're going to be at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. And it's going to be us, the creators, Rich, a.k.a. Bobcat Goldwave, Guy Grams is going to be out there. And we got a few other heads coming in and out that we'll announce at some point soon. It's going to be fun, man. It's been a while since the creators have been together. We all want to put out, some quality stuff. We want to put on a good show, too. So we'll all be out there. I'll be performing ONA Tapes live for the first time. Rich will be performing a lot of music live for the first time. So it's going to be great energy, great chance to come out, support some local Baltimore music. And, yeah, I mean, just come out, guys. Come out, show love, or not. Yeah. You're lost.
For the listeners, it's we're recording this on the 31st, Halloween.
Yeah.
My goal is on November 1st, at the latest second, you guys should be hearing this episode. So, which means you'll have a few days in preparation for Sunday. You'll know about it, so
Hopefully, if you listen to this on the 2nd, hopefully, you're not feeling too down with memories of the election, because it'll be the 1 year anniversary of Trump being elected. So,
oh man,
hopefully
that whole Russia thing is.
Hopefully you're tuning into this to tune out of all that, and we're here with you. We're here with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, you might as well turn away from the election, because this Russia thing, man. Black suits are showing up at people's doors. Everybody's snitching. People. This is gonna make a wild documentary one day.
Right. I was thinking. I was like, dang. It sucks that I'm not gonna be alive. Maybe I will be, but 50 years from now, I would love to see the Ken Burns documentary of
right.
just the in-depth analysis and you're seeing all these old people talk about I want to know all the ins and outs of this.
Yeah, man, we're in we're in wild times, but and I guess real quick, I will say unfortunately I've never been able to see you guys perform live, but from the clips I've seen, yeah, you guys put on work for live shows.
Yeah, we try.
You're bringing out dudes who are playing instruments on stage. There's always a lot of energy.
Yep, horn sections. Last time we had I think they're called The Gift, maybe. That was drums and bass and guitar and all that. And I mean, our music isn't made live. It's made just through sampling and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to have a live band come out and jam with us and all that. And this time around, it's just going to be, I think we just got a DJ going with us this time around, which is cool. It'll work for me, especially because I haven't been practicing. So I can just go out there and spit some bars. But, yeah, man, I mean, we just try to go out there with energy and put on a show for everybody. And then, it always helps when you have a crowd that's giving you a lot of love back. So
yeah, I was going to say, what's that energy like?
It'll be fun. You should definitely try to make it out to one of these shows, man.
What's going
even
on?
If it's not this one, there'll definitely be more shows coming up the pipeline, and so we're definitely gonna want all the love and support out there.
You said where's this at again? Downtown.
Yeah, man, we do a lot of great just live sets and stuff like that. We had the Gift come through, and they know how to jam and put on a show and all that. This time around, we're just gonna be having DJs and stuff like that play for us. But I mean, it'll be fun, and it's always we try to really bring out that old school hip hop energy, with the crowd interacting with the MC. you know, we're writers, I think, by trade, but we also appreciate the craft and energy that goes into making a good hip hop concert. So, you know, we try to put in that work to make sure everybody has a good time.
Yeah. So yeah, shout outs to creators. ONA Tapes is on what? Man, you on like SoundCloud? Actually, you know what? Yeah, I wanted to give you props on this because I've noticed also with a lot of other indie artists, I don't know what they do with in terms of, I don't know, like sometimes I might search them and I can't find them. Literally, I typed in ONA Tape. You're literally like on, you popped up like 6 times.
Really?
Yeah, like I'll do it right now.
On Google?
ONA Tape, yeah.
Oh, I'm on Napster too. I'd never done this.
Yeah, like.
I've never done this.
Yeah.
I'm on Napster too. I didn't know I was on Napster, so that's crazy.
You're out there, so.
That's I'm on pretty much everything but Apple Music, which is BS. But I'm on everything but pretty much Apple Music at this point. I went through a distributor this time around, so like I got distribution. I'm working on getting on Apple, but yeah, man. I mean, you can find me on Spotify, Tidal, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. DatPiff will be soon. And yeah, just Google me at this point. If you Google me, I get like one of those side screen things now. So like, you know, there'll be a thing on the side next to pictures of tape that says my album, and it starts breaking out my album and stuff like that. So definitely check me out, guys. Or for SoundCloud, it's Pale Moon Music. Facebook, add me on there too. That's Pale Moon Music. It used to be spelled with a V, now it's spelled with an A, for branding and marketing purposes. So you know, gotta get the business acumen down right too.
Right.
But yeah.
But yeah, definitely. And I'll have links everywhere for Bandcamp.
You can find me. I mean, I'm around. You know, and if anything, I'm sure I'll be back on the podcast again. So if you forget about me, I'll remind you guys when I come on next time.
Definitely. But before we close out, we gotta. I was gonna say, yeah. Before we close out, gotta give some quick thoughts. Justice League. You're like the only person I can have a serious DC.
Yo.
Oh, did I lose you?
Mike.
Yo.
Yeah, just start back from the. I think the last thing I was saying was just like, you can find me just about anywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. So yeah, ONA Tapes. My bad. SoundCloud, Bandcamp, all over the place. If you Google that and Pale Moon, you'll find him. He's branded himself well. Real quick though, before we get out of here, you're like the only person. I didn't say the only. You're one of few people I can have a serious DC discussion with without just throwing mud on DC's name. So Justice League, we're what 2 weeks away, 1 week away.
It's November 17th is when it comes out. So just about
We're almost there. I've been avoiding trailers, and I got lucky. I went to see it like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I got to the theater a little bit late, and the Justice League trailer was showing right as I walked in, but it was like the last 3 seconds of it. So like I'm glad I kind of missed it because I just want to go in blind and just whatever happens kind of happens. But I don't know, any final thoughts? Like what are you hoping for? Anything you're worried about? You know, before this becomes a thing.
Okay. Well, I will say this. I'm a little bit less worried about it. Some people are saying that it was better than Wonder Woman. The movie's already been released in China, to my knowledge. So there's reviews coming out on it already. I don't know if you heard any of those.
Yeah, I saw some Twitter reviews.
Okay.
Pretty much everybody saw had high praise.
So like I'm still not expecting it to be art, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, you know, I don't know, man. I've seen a couple trailers I think I saw the first one, and then I watched the last one maybe, and like, there's a lot in it that I'm just like, oh no. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it, I'm just like, God, no, what's going on? But at the same time, a trailer doesn't necessarily mean one thing or the other. So it's like, I'm gonna go in. Apparently, if you go in with low expectations, you'll come out pretty happy. So
Yeah.
And that's the approach I'm gonna take on it. This is something that I've waited my whole life to watch. I'm sure you have too. I'm a DC fan, even though we're going through our hard times. I'm also a Cowboys fan, so I know the feeling. You know what I mean? Like it can get hard, and it can get difficult in a lot of ways. So it's like, at this point, I'm just hoping for the best. I'm just hoping it'd be kind of entertaining. It's been, there's too many spoilers that came out that have kind of ruined whatever surprises I thought were going to come in the movie. So, like other characters that are hidden in this thing or whatever. So it's just like, at this point, I just want to sit back, watch it, and hopefully it just, hopefully that'll be enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm slightly optimistic. Like I feel like since I've been avoiding trailers and spoilers and everything, that like I haven't come across anything on accident that I didn't think I was supposed to see. And from the little bit I've seen on accident that I probably shouldn't have watched, like I don't know, the more I see it, I'm like, you know what, I think this could be, it's not gonna blow my mind or be like the highest selling movie ever, but like I just feel like if they do it right, if they don't try to do too much, like this could be the start of something. Well, Wonder Woman was definitely good, getting DC back on the right foot, and that was the left foot, and I think Justice League can hopefully be the right foot, and maybe they'll get a stride going.
Well, here's the thing: you have Justice League is going to be the shortest movie that the DCEU has put out so far. So it's going to be getting to the point pretty fast in that movie. So, if you go in it just hoping for action and stuff like that, I'm guessing that's what you're going to get most of. And then after that, it's just a matter of like, if they can make the stakes just interesting enough to get us through the movie, then they've done their job and we can move forward. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just at this point, it just has to connect a little bit, and not be Suicide Squad. I don't know if you ever watched that, by the way.
Still haven't.
Yeah, good call. Like, I will tell you though, I've watched the enough of the trailers to know that like, and seen enough that like it. They made it. If they were trying to make this movie look bad, they did their job with the trailers, because the trailers look terrible. But again, I'm kind of going off what the buzz is about it too, and the buzz is kind of getting a little more popular or more optimistic about it. So, hey, at this point, if at the worst that can happen, even if this movie bombs, it just means they're gonna restart it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They'll redo it. They'll get a better director in it. They'll, they'll find new talent, and they'll just try again. And I think I might be kind of down with that too. Like, I know some people go like, "Oh, like this is too confusing. We just had Christian Bale. Now we have Ben Affleck. Now we're gonna have somebody else." But it kind of works because if you watch the animated series, like they switch up every time. You know what I mean? You may have Kevin Conroy sometimes for the voice, but other times you got different guys, and
right.
The way the animation may be different. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always linear. So like, if they want to do like a bunch of different stories where like you get a different Batman depending on the story, you know what I mean? I could possibly be down for that. You know what I mean? I didn't really care for Jared Leto's Joker, but I could live in a world where there's one storyline that has his Joker and another storyline that has Leonardo DiCaprio as the Joker. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is something that's been rumored. So it's like, if they want to do that and try a bunch of different things, just throw shit at the wall, I'm down for it at this point.
I want to say, and yeah, because I saw people were already complaining just at the rumor that DiCaprio could possibly be playing the Joker. And I'm like, listen, man, if you're a Marvel fan, shut up. We've seen Spider-Man be rebooted 80,000 times.
Right.
Within like 2 years of each other. Don't want to hear it. Like,
well, and it's like, how could you, like, if there's going to be somebody attached to playing the Joker, like, it might as well be DiCaprio. You know what I mean? Like, who else is it going to be? Like, especially after Heath Ledger, like, you kind of like, there's not too many people that you want to see play that role. At least DiCaprio's got talent and all that kind of stuff. The thing I worry about is the guy directing it isn't Scorsese, which a lot of people think it is. It's the guy that did all three of the Hangovers and Due Date, and I think he did Old School as well. but his track record isn't that great. So that's what I'd be worried
Yeah.
about the most, just directorials from a directorial standpoint. But
Yeah, you can have all the talented players in the world, but if your coach is some trash,
right, like might not work out too well.
yeah. But I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll yeah, I'll probably have to bring you on for that one. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that movie just makes me feel something that I feel compelled to talk about it. So but
Even if it's hate and rage.
yeah, like even if I'm angry, I got to talk about it. But my only fear is that I'll leave the theater and feel nothing. Like I won't feel any kind of way, which I think is bad. Like I would almost rather hate it than me leave the theater and be like, I just saw the Justice League and it was just meh. Like
Just man. Yeah, like that's probably the biggest problem too, because at this point it's like, back in the day you can get away with a meh product, but now it's like after having a movie like Logan or Deadpool, you know what I mean? Like
right.
they've set the bar for like new superhero movies, and if Justice League is just meh, it's gonna be like, damn.
Yeah. Like what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that Black Panther though, that looks crazy. Like they the way like I was, just from like the costumes and stuff like that, those are great and like they look cool, but like just the way the camera moves throughout the film and like the trailers and like the angles and stuff they're shooting at, like you could tell like this guy Ryan Coogler, he did KRIT. This looks like fire. This looks like it's gonna be crazy.
you don't know how hard it is. I haven't watched that new trailer they put out. You don't know how hard it is to. That's another one. I just want to go in. Whatever happens, happens. But I can say with confidence, I might call out of work that day. I'm not gonna lie. Like
you should. You should just watch. I'm debating whether or not just to buy 2 tickets for it and watch it like back to back because like it just. I mean, like again, like it could be one of those movies that you show up and it's not what the trailers promised it to be, but that looks pretty good, man. It looks that second trailer, like the first one sold me, the second one was like, yo, you need to buy a second ticket.
Right.
And
you can take my money right now. Like
right. It's like if it's gonna look like that, like I'm ready to see him get the Infinity Gauntlet. Like I'm ready to like move forward because I'm sold that like Black Panther is the future of like Marvel now. You know what I mean?
I hope.
In terms of like all the new characters that are gonna take over the thing now that like I guess they're kind of ending Iron Man's reign and Thor and all that.
I've been waiting for a Black Panther movie for a long time, and yeah, if this movie is anywhere near great as I think it is, like I think this might break some kind of record. I don't know what record it'll break, but I feel like there's a lot of hype around this, and I get it. It doesn't come out till February, so hype might die down a little bit. But I'm pretty sure they'll throw out another teaser by the time February
it's gonna
around.
like I mean the $Black alone, man. Like like people are just gonna watch it just to support
just
it
because you're right.
Yeah, just because it's like they may not care about Marvel at all, but they're gonna watch it because it's just like like this is a moment. And it's like, and you can just, if you watch like even the stills, the pictures from it, you can tell that like there's a certain amount of care and budget that went behind it that most of the time movies like that don't get. You know what I mean? Yep. You can visually, you can tell like, oh, they're going all out for this one. And so like a lot of people are just gonna want to watch it just to support and show them that love. Which is why I'm thinking I need to buy these tickets now.
Right. Yeah, that's If maybe my managers happen to hear this podcast, you might not see me that day. I might. Right. Yeah. I'm gonna be down the street at the movie theater, so you'll know where I'm at, but yeah, I ain't gonna be at work. Like that's a holiday. Like, that's a holiday, man. Yeah,
Black Panther Day.
It is, and it's in Black History Month. Like, come on, man. Like, I can't go to work. Black Panther coming out in Black History Month, like I got to be a part of that history. Like, yeah,
it's an iconic moment.
It really is.
And like literally, this will only like this type of moment because like I mean, there was Steel, there was I don't know if there's been any like Hispanic superheroes or I mean you got like your Asian kung fu artists and stuff like that, but like this is like a moment like in history in terms of like color in movies and like just like where it goes next. You know what I mean? So this is the one time that this will ever be like a first, and then after this, like you're gonna get a million of like movies that are like Black Panther. You know what I mean?
Right.
Once it does like so much money and the studio execs realize they can make a bank off this, you're gonna get like hundreds of like Black Panther spin-off type movies that have the same feel and tone and all that. So it's like watching this first one is gonna be iconic.
I'm hoping it'll inspire DC to give me a Jon Stewart for my Green Lantern. You know.
You never know, man. We're gonna. I'll leave it at that. We'll just watch the Justice League, and then after that, I guess we'll know what comes next.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, man. Thanks for stopping by. One last. Go.
I was gonna say thanks for having me. You know, I guess just to plug whatever I have. ONA Tapes. That's ONA. That's for Oliver Nasir Ali. That's my son's name. You can check that out easily by just Googling me, or you can go on SoundCloud, look at Pale Moon. It's everywhere. I'm gonna have a new project coming out soon. I got a music video for Compromise coming out tonight, which is the 31st of October, Halloween. Got a show coming up on November 7th or something like that on Sunday at 7 p.m. Come check that out. And, show some love. Support.
All relevant links will be in the description below.
Yeah.
So I'll have a link to his Bandcamp, SoundCloud, links to where you can listen to the podcast, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, all that stuff. We out here. We out here. But yeah, man, it's been another episode of the Dojo Talk podcast. I guess real quick for my MMA fans, the George St. Pierre fight, I got a podcast lined up for that. We got guests coming through. It's about to get real rowdy. That podcast is probably going to be mad long, but it's going to be dope though. But yeah, man, you guys keep supporting. Share this podcast. Share with a friend of a friend, co-worker, grandma, grandpa, anybody.
Burn it on a CD and just leave it like in every bathroom you can.
Right.
Like and put enough so that like if I go into the bathroom like like after the 5th time I'll be like, yo, why do I keep seeing this here? Like, maybe I should just take one. You know what I mean? Like it may be a little dirty or whatever, but like just share it with everybody. Put it in put it in porn stores, put it at Walmart, put it inside the Santa Claus little cauldron things they have out now because it's getting close to Christmas.
Go to the new DVD section and put it in front of the new DVDs.
Take out the new DVDs.
Right.
And just put it when you return your red box. Just shove it in there with the red box DVD, and and make sure you title it Dojo Podcast, and that way people know where to go.
Right. We out here. But yeah, man, it's been another episode of the Dojo Talk podcast. Till next time, we will catch you guys later. Peace.